Jesus was in fact a mystic. It's been documented that there are other people who have had Jesus-like powers. See, when I said that the first time that Jesus was a mystic, he wasn't a mega church mascot, you guys lost your mind. You said it wasn't humanly possible for anyone else to have those gifts. He couldn't be a human. To me then, why in the 60s, there was a man from Congo who had powers just like Jesus. In fact, they referred to him as Black Jesus. It was documented that he could regenerate. He literally could not die no matter what was done to him. And he also had protection like nobody else could imagine. He could demand things to happen. For example, when people started to find out in the West that he existed, they started to run experiments on him against his will, including coming up to him and shooting him in the head. There were witnesses that saw that his skull regenerated. Tissue, bone just started to grow back instantly. There was no scar. When people saw it, they said, let's up it. One of the experiments, they took his heart out of his chest. After they did that, he woke up on the table and demanded for them to put it back in. He also stopped a plane mid-air. It was because he was taken as a prisoner because his gifts scared people. In the plane, he demanded for it to stop. So mid-air, the plane just stopped and froze in place until he willed it to move. And in the most extreme act of violence against him, the cabal decided we're going to lure him in and dismember him. So they gave him an invite to talk to the UN, show people that gifts like this exist, help awaken people just like Jesus did. And just like Jesus, they killed him in the worst way, or at least they tried. Because he agreed to the invitation, he agreed to get in the plane, they knocked him out, dismembered his body, and put it in radioactive containers, and then flew it across the world, literally separating all of these containers across the world. He wanted to destroy his body in the worst way possible so he couldn't regenerate. And then what happened? He in fact not only regenerated, but he regenerated in the office of the person who made that call against his life, who created that plan against him. And he said as his final words, you know what? Since you guys want me gone, I'll leave. But just know that more people like me are coming. That was his final words, and he disappeared. And he hasn't been seen since. See, the elites were so terrified of him because it showed that if people knew that he existed, they could no longer be controlled by religion. That in the Bible, when he was saying, I am the way, he was not saying worship me. He was saying, if you act like I act, because you have God within you too, you can unlock all of these gifts. Simeon said that more people were coming like him, and that was 60 years ago. And on this app, well, especially since COVID, more people have been awakening to their ability. Telekinesis, you can Google that and find a video on levitation, portal, time shifting, precognitive dream, even deja vu, astral projecting, technokinesis, and so much more. It's because we all have these gifts. And that is what actually scares the elites, because they've always known this information. They just never wanted you to know this information.
In this video, I'm going to explain to you that Jesus is Black and that people of melanin.
That monstrosity of a book is a concordance. It is for the NIV translation. I believe you can get it in other translations. I don't know. I've only ever had NIV. But it is a book where you can look up the original Greek and Hebrew text of the Bible for each and every word. It is a great Bible study aid. Lucky for us, though, it is the year 2022 and not the year 2006 when I bought that book. So all of that you can get in an app. Why is it important for you to know what a concordance is and how to use one? Because if you are going to teach the Word of God and lead people in the Word of God, you need to be confident in what you're talking about. Jeremiah 8:21 is one of the verses you reference. This is from the Blue Letter Bible app, which has a concordance inside of it. Gives you more detail than what that book gives you, so I love this. And you can see here how it just breaks everything down. Each of these numbers here references a word. Now you took I am black to mean skin color. Now we can talk about the whole passage and figure out the context, but I think for this it's just not necessary. We just need the original word. And this is the original word. There's your Hebrew and there's your definition. In this verse, black is not black as in skin color, it's black as in mourning, a heaviness. Another good Bible study tool is to cross-reference other translations. Other translations say, I am hurt, I am crushed. Now you can go and look at that whole passage and realize that the entire passage is talking about sorrow. I am black as in skin color just doesn't make sense. If you scroll, you can see where else this word was used. In one of these other Jeremiah verses you also reference, I can't remember which one, but it's the same word. If you are black, at some point you heard Jesus has woolly hair, therefore. This is the verse they're referencing, Revelation 1:14, which you also reference in your TikTok. Let's read it together. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as a flame of fire. White like wool, white as snow. These are two similes. We're talking about the color of his hair, not the texture. Even so, this is in reference to his heavenly form, not his human form. We don't know what Jesus looked like in his human form because the Bible doesn't tell us, because it's not relevant. Why do you feel it's important to make the point that Jesus is black? What relevance does it have to the gospel? How does this knowledge save someone's soul? So why in a lot of art is Jesus white? Because the artist was white. Same way you see a Chinese Jesus or an African Jesus, they painted a Jesus that looked like them, that matched the humanity they saw every single day. Unfortunately, we live in a culture that idolizes skin color, and many black people see being black as worth more than anything. So is Jesus worth less to you if he's not?
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about the video many people are sharing online. In this video, the speaker says Jesus was a mystery and also talk about a man for Congo who was called Black Jesus. The speaker says the man had amazing powers and that powerful people tried to hide the truth. These are speaker's personal beliefs. Many of these claims are not accepted from the proven fact. Are many people have different opinion. In my opinion, this is a very interesting topic. Many stories on social media can shoot exciting, but before we believe them, we should always ask one question: where is the evidence? History, religion, and the science are different subjects. Sometimes people mix them together. That is why is important to learn from the trust books, historical and the good resources. The speakers also says the every person has special gifts inside them. Many people believe these different ways. Some believes in is spiritual, some believes in it is personal growth, others do not believe it at all, and that is okay. Everyone has the right to their own belief. I think we should always keep an open mind, but we should also check the facts before the saying something is true. Learning is good, asking question is good, but believe everything on social media is not always a good idea. And in the end, respect is very important. We can have different benefits, still respect each other. That is how good conversations begin. Now I want to hear from you what you think about these topics. Please share your opinion in comments. Let's continue.
I have a question for all of the people who think that anybody can be racist, specifically the white people, because they're the ones in my comment section constantly trying to convince me that anybody can be racist towards white people, that white people can experience racism, which we know is false because race plus ism is a system based on the prejudice of race.
So there's this odd belief that since the word racism contains the suffix ism, and since ism means system, this entails that racism requires a system. However, this completely ignores the fact that ism not only means system, but it can also be referring to a distinctive practice or philosophy, usually in relation to ideologies. In the same breath, what system does Catholicism denote? What system does autism denote? Dwarfism, plagiarism, astigmatism. These things do not inherently denote a system. These are practices, these are conditions. So if we were to use our context clues and recognize that racism is the practice of being prejudiced, discriminatory, or antagonistic by the basis of one's race, or if we recognize that racism is also the belief, slash ideology that other races are so similar within themselves, yet so different from yours that you begin to look at these other races as inferior to yours, you'll begin to realize that it makes way more sense for racism itself to fall under the category of practice and or ideology. If we acknowledge that being human comes with the capacity to fall victim to these harmful ideologies and practices perpetuated by other humans, you would essentially have to say that you believe that white people are not fully human. In the same way, we acknowledge that being human comes with the capacity to perpetuate these harmful practices. So if you believe that people of color have the inherent inability to do such a thing, you're essentially saying that you believe people of color are not fully human as well.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope we are doing well. Today we are talking about a topic that has created a lot of debate online. The question is simple: what did Jesus really look like? Many people have different opinion. Some people grew up seeing picture of Jesus with white skin, blue eyes and long light curly hair. Other people say the image is not historical correct. They believe Jesus has a Middle East this man, so we probably had dark skin, dark hair and Middle East features. This decision has become very emotional. Some people believe the traditional painting are correct, others believe those paintings were influenced by European artists and culture. In my opinion, it is important to accept historical history from artworks from hundreds of years. Artists from different countries painted Jesus in a way to look familiar of their own people. The people visit Europe, we see a European look Jesus. If people you visit part of Africa, you see a darker skin Jesus. In many Asian countries, Jesus is sometimes shown the Asian feature. This does not necessarily mean people were trying to change history. Many artists simply want people in their communities to correct this story. However, when history study of life is Jesus is generally agree on the one point: Jesus has born the ballet and they grew up in Netherlands, both of the Middle East. Because of that, many historians believe Jesus is most likely looked like a other Jerusalem people living that the religion during the first country. That many probably did not look like the famous European painting that many people religi- realize that today. At the same time, there is confirmed historical portraits of Jesus. No photography exists, no details physical description exist in the Bible. So one of can honestly say they know exactly what Jesus looked like. That is why people continue the debate this subject. But here is my opinion. I think the most important part of Jesus' life was not the color of his skin. It is his message. The few people it love one another through forgiveness. We cared of the pure. They helped people who were suffering. He spoke about the mercy, hope, and faith. These techniques have inspired the billions of people around the world. Wherever someone imagines is lighter skin or darker skin, his message remains the same: love or neighborhood, help thus the need treat others of respect. I also think they should be careful not to attack people just because they have a different opinion. History should be discussed in the fact. Faith should be discussed in the respect. No matter what Sir, someone believes the every deserves of the treated with kindness instead of arguing only about the person. Maybe we should receive respect the more times following the value of Jesus' thought because this value can bring people together instead of dividing them. That is my opinion. Now I would like to hear from you what you think. Do you believe the decision of the focus on the Jesus apart for should the focus the more technique of this message sharing for your opinion in comment. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget of like, subscribe and share.